Hey guys, welcome back to Embers and Ash. My name's Ashley, if you didn't know, and today we're talking about something that I've been obsessing over for the past 6 months, and that is regenerative backyard vegetable gardening. I have been so excited to make this video for you guys, and now that I've actually been able to get my hands in the dirt and make some progress on my garden, I can share with you what I've learned. This is going to be a kind of monthly series where I go over everything that happens each month. This video specifically is all about setting up your regenerative garden, how it's different than, I guess, traditional gardening, and everything in between. But before I get into it, I want to thank today's sponsor, Glasses USA. Glasses USA is one of the leading e-commerce retailers for prescription and non-prescription glasses, blue light blocking glasses, and sunglasses. By cutting out the middleman, Glasses USA is able to offer over 9,000 prescription glasses and sunglasses with their in-house brands like Amelia E and Muse, and designer brands like Ray-Ban, Oakley, Gucci at up to 70% off their retail price. You can shop for all your eyewear needs online at affordable pricing, starting at only $30 with a basic prescription included. If you're struggling to decide what style of glasses you want to go for, they do have an online quiz that uses your face shape and facial features to determine what style will suit you best. One of the coolest features is that if you don't actually have your prescription, you can use their free app prescription scanner where you scan your glasses and it'll tell you what your prescription is. Super cool. They also have a virtual try-on tool, which is key to buying glasses online because you want to see what the glasses are actually going to look like on your own face. I, of course, used this and picked out a couple glasses that I'm about to show you. The ones that I'm wearing right now are the Auto Toe Jubilee in black. This is a very obvious style that I would pick, but it's just one of my favorites for my face shape. I like that they're just a plain black, goes with everything, and just very my style and very trendy. I also picked up the Auto Toe Weston in tortoise. I love a tortoise pattern on glasses. It's a bit of a different style than I'm used to, but I like that it has the keyhole in the middle and the kind of rounded square shape. I also got Josh to try these on and they look super good on him, so I might actually buy him a pair of these. And lastly, I picked up some sunglasses, which is so exciting because I'm so sick of being blinded outside by the sun, but if I switch to regular sunglasses, I can't see. So these are prescription. I really love, again, the tortoise pattern on them and the circular shape. They're just everything I could ask from sunglasses. And if you're still a little concerned about buying glasses online, it is completely risk-free. They have a 100% money-back guaranteed within the first 14 days of your delivery date and a 365-day warranty. So if you're interested in trying out Glasses USA, check out the link in the description and that will direct you right to Glasses USA's website where you can search for your own glasses. Thank you again to Glasses USA for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the meat of it, regenerative gardening. Okay, I have so much to talk to you guys about. First off, I'll give a little background. I do have experience in environmental work in general, hands-on, hands-off, I guess, textbook, but never regenerative. And some of the ideas are totally opposite from what you're used to doing. So it's been a lot of relearning. So like I said, I've been reading up on this for half a year roughly. Let me know if I get anything wrong because I am new to this. Any suggestions, tips and tricks, that kind of thing. But for anyone wondering, what is regenerative gardening? It's a method of gardening that works with the environment as opposed to kind of against the environment to get the highest yield possible out of your vegetables. The basis of it is making a good soil that works for you and is kind of self-sustaining in a way. Is that a good description? I don't know. There's a lot of important reasons why people are choosing to go down this route, and I will get into that as we kind of go through the talking points. But today I just want to guide you through what I've done over the past month to set up the garden to be regenerative. So first off was picking out the plot of land. We have this little retaining wall on the east side of our house that I thought would be a great location, especially because the south side is kind of under construction. So the east was great for me, especially because it gets a decent amount of sunlight. Our backyard is south facing, which is huge for a vegetable garden, and so it just made sense. Next up was building our frame for the garden. What I've read online is that you typically want to do 4-foot deep beds, but that's only if you can access both sides of it, because you want to be able to reach in and not have to step on your bed. So I did a 3-foot bed with a 1-foot distance from the retaining wall, so I could get back there if I needed to, but I want to be able to do most of my work from the front. The bed specifically is 20 feet long. That's just because that's how much space we had. I know people will often kind of cut them off and make multiple beds, but there is kind of a reason why I left it as one big bed, kind of because I want to be flexible with where plants go over the years and not be stuck to certain size beds, but we'll get more into that kind of as time goes on, I guess. So the bed Josh made out of 6-inch cedar that we already had laying around. I specifically wanted it to be fairly shallow because I wanted the plants to use the ground dirt as opposed to the soil that I'm putting in a planter box specifically. I have done planter box gardening before at my old house, and it's fine. It's totally fine, but it does limit where the roots can go and how much they can spread out, and plants are just happier when they get more space. So I wanted to have the barrier to make sure everything was like separated nicely, but most the soil that the plants are going to be using are in the ground. And that's also kind of part of the regenerative aspect of it, because if the beds are completely separated from the ground, then I have to do a lot more work to keep the soil healthy as opposed to the soil keeping itself healthy with like worms and fungi and insects that are all great for keeping your plants alive. It also helps with watering a lot to not have a high container, because you do lose a lot of water through evaporation of the sides of the container. I dealt with that a lot previously, and when the sun can only really hit the top of the soil, you're just going to get less evaporation. Now is the time to prepare the soil. This is kind of one of the key parts of regenerative agriculture, and that is no tilling. This was a huge mind warp for me because I'm so used to tilling soil. It's like a basic practice in landscaping. The reason why people till is because it aerates your soil, it loosens it so there's easier access for plants to send their roots out. It also kills off weeds, because you can see the plot of land that we're using is full of grass, full of weeds. So if I had just tilled it, it would kill all those things and, you know, solve that problem. But we're not tilling because it's actually bad for the soil. The reasons being, tilling kills off a lot of microbial life because you're exposing the microbes to heat or air or just things that they're not used to. They're used to being like safe in the soil. Tilling also releases a lot of carbon into the atmosphere because the carbon gets in contact with oxygen, making CO2, so that's bad for the environment. Obviously, these things are more impactful on large scale agriculture, but it still stands in your little backyard garden. Also, tilling is a huge problem for erosion because you've loosened all the soil, and specifically if the soil stays exposed when you get rainfall, it will all wash away. It's actually a really big problem in the agricultural world. So with that being said, I was left with the question of how am I supposed to get the benefits of tilling without actually tilling, because I just have this plot of grass and weeds that's very compact. What am I supposed to do? And the solution is cardboard or newspaper. The idea is if you lay down cardboard over your grassy section or weedy section, it prevents sunlight from hitting those plants and will kill it off over time, so you don't need to worry about them growing through the soil that you put on top. As for aeration, I don't think that there's like a fast and easy solution. From what I understand, the healthier that you can make your soil, the better it will become aerated, because there'll be more fungi and bacteria and things that will naturally aerate the soil. It just will take some time. So what I actually ended up doing was I initially put newspaper down because I read online newspaper can be better if you're doing a shallow layer of soil over top, because then your plants can actually penetrate through. And that didn't work out so great for me because we had some pretty strong weeds, like taproot weeds, that were pushing up through the newspaper because it's so thin. So I did end up going back and adding cardboard over top afterwards to make sure that nothing comes through. You also want to make sure that your cardboard is overlapping the edge of your bed so that no plants kind of come up from the side underneath. I kind of forgot to do that in some areas, but I think I figured it all out in the end. The other thing about cardboard I forgot to mention is that it is a biodegradable material as long as you're not doing any cardboard that's like glossy or has tape on it. So it should kill off your weeds and then over time degrade itself so that your plants can go through it. Pretty cool. We ended up leaving our cardboard and newspaper out there for a couple weeks before we brought the soil in, just because that's how it worked out. But it was actually really beneficial because I could see if there was any holes where plants were trying to come through and cover those. And then it was time to add soil. So we actually were getting a couple yards of soil anyways to redo our lawn. So I just took some of that and put it in the bed. It was really only like 2 or 3 inches because again, most the soil is in the ground. This soil mix was for grass, so it was a little sandy, but I think everything's gonna work itself out in the end. You can do soil testing on your soil initially. I didn't do that. That's all. And then it was time for the watering system. So I have been hand watering my plants for years, and it's so much work. Like in July, August, when it's super hot out, it is so hard to keep up with the watering, specifically when you have planter boxes. If you're also, I should mention, if you're using planter boxes, a lot of this applies because I know a lot of people don't have backyards, condos and such, or like our previous living circumstance. So a lot of these things still apply. I'm just talking about my particular situation. So watering. I didn't want to have to hand water for the whole seasons. Also, the biggest thing is I'm having a baby in August, so you know I am not going to be good at tending to the garden in the hottest month. So I wanted to make sure something automatic was going on to deal with it. So I ended up taking a hose from the hose bib, running it to the garden bed. I dug up a little trench so that it would go under one of our pathways, and then I attached it to a soaker hose, or 2 specifically. Laid out the soaker hose to make sure that it would fit in like a zigzag pattern, and then I just used some landscape staples to keep it in place. The reason I went with the soaker hose specifically is that it goes underneath your mulch, and so all the water should stay kind of in the soil and not just evaporate off right when you water. It also helps prevent water from getting on the leaves of your plants because often plants don't like that, especially if you're watering in the heat of the day, then you can actually damage your plants and burn them, so not ideal. And the biggest thing of all that I did was I bought an automated irrigation system thing. I just got it off Amazon. It wasn't cheap, it wasn't super expensive, but it's really going to save me. It connects to your hose bib and to the hose that you're using, and you can set it to water for any amount of time at any time of day every day, so I don't have to worry about watering, which is huge because like I said, it can be so hard to keep up with. So I haven't actually used the system yet because it's still pretty wet out, but my plan is like every morning at 5 a.m. have it water my garden and I don't have to worry about it. Now it was time to feed my soil. So one of the biggest things in regenerative gardening is to avoid chemical fertilizers. There's a lot of reasons why chemical fertilizers are not ideal. One of them being that they kill off a lot of microbes because they're so, I don't know, intense. Like you're just putting direct chemicals on them that they're not used to. Also, there is a pretty decent fertilizer shortage going on in the world. So if you can use something natural, it's just better for the system, I guess. And you're not supporting all the like mining that goes into getting those chemical fertilizers. The other thing is that because you're putting the nutrients directly on the plants or like on the soil around their roots, the plants don't have to work for their nutrients, so they kind of get lazy and they don't create relationships with the microbes, which is huge because the microbes and the plants actually have like a relationship going on usually where the plants will give, I think it's the plants give the microbes sugars and the microbes will give the plants nutrients, which is really cool. There's also another relationship with fungi, mycorrhizal fungi, where they attach onto the plant's roots. And again, the plant gives them the fungi something, and the fungi will extend out, like grow further than where the root ends and find water and give water to your plant. It's really, really cool stuff. And if you're adding chemical fertilizer to your plants, then you're just totally killing off this relationship. And like I've said previously, you're working harder than you need to because the plants and the microbes can do all this for you. But you still need to be adding some form of fertilizer to the system because otherwise, where is the plant and the microbes getting their nutrients from? And this is an easy solution. Just use a natural compost or manure. I went out and grabbed some mushroom manure because that was what was available. I did also learn that ideally you would switch out which type of manure or compost you use every year because diversity is key to a healthy garden. I also ended up just laying it on top of the soil. I could have mixed it in, but the idea with regenerative gardening is that you don't mix things in, you just lay them on top. So I kind of wanted to get into the habit of it because you don't want to be disturbing the life that's going on in your soil, right? And the idea is that if you have really healthy soil with lots of life in it, it will process the compost that you put on top fairly quickly and bring it down to where it needs to go. Next up, I decided to add some biochar to my compost. This isn't like necessary, but it's something I learned about and I thought it was really cool. Biochar is a stable form of charcoal that's made by burning carbon-based materials like wood in a oxygen deprived scenario, and it creates a no ash charcoal product. The reason why you want no ash is because ash will actually create a more basic soil, and you don't want to be messing with your pH of the soil unless you know that you need to change the pH. You can make biochar yourself, I've read online, but you have to like burn things, and I didn't want to do that. So I just bought it off Amazon. And the reason why biochar is so cool, I'm just going to read it off of my list here, is because it increases soil's water holding capacity by up to 20%. That's cool. Increases soil's nutrient holding capacity. It hosts a lot of beneficial fungi, helps prevent disease. So yeah, I was like, that sounds great. I'm gonna add that. The bag specifically says to add it to a compost if you can, instead of directly to the soil, because it does, like I say, hold on to a lot of nutrients, so it'll suck up a lot of the nitrogen in your soil. So if you're adding it to a nitrogen rich substance like compost or manure, then everything's cool. So I just loosely followed the ratios that it gave on the back of the packaging, mixed it in with the compost, and then kind of spread it out over top of the garden. And I'm pretty sure it lasts a long time in the soil, so you shouldn't have to like be worried about adding more. I'll double check that. If anything, it would be like once a year, but I'm pretty sure like it should be like good because it's a stable form of carbon. I don't know. Don't take my word on that. Lastly, I added a layer of mulch on top. I did this right away because you don't want your compost to dry out, because when it dries out, it loses all the life forms that are in it. I ended up getting my mulch just from Home Depot because it was half the price of the nursery mulch. I have gotten nursery mulch before, and generally it's better quality. You get more uniform wood chip shapes, but I'm trying to not spend too much money, so went with the Home Depot version. They do have a couple types. I specifically did not buy their cheapest one that is dyed. Like they had a black one, a red one, and a brown one, but they're all dyed wood chips, and I just don't want that dye leaching into my garden when I'm trying to make it as natural as possible. So the one I got is 100% cedar. Like I said, it's not the highest quality. There was some like sawdust mixed in with larger chunks, but it was fine, especially because my vegetable garden isn't supposed to be like this beautiful ornamental perfect thing like you would want a ornamental garden and have those uniform wood chips. I am doing one layer of mulch at the beginning of the year, and then I'm just going to be adding on things as they come up, like specifically pulling weeds out of the ground, throwing them on top of the bed. When the boys brew beer, putting their barley on top of the bed. The whole idea is that you're always adding carbon and nitrogen rich materials so that the microbes and such can eat them up and add them to the plants. So 1 layer of mulch to start off the year, like I said. I wanted to get straw as my mulch because I assumed it was cheaper and it breaks down quicker because it's not as dense as wood chips, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Don't know what's up with that. I've never looked for it before. So also, if you don't know anything about mulch, the reason you use it is because it helps retain moisture in your garden, like I said earlier. So you put that on top of your soil. It also helps suppress weeds because the weeds can't access the soil. And over time, like I already said, it breaks down and feeds the soil. So it's always a good idea. Wanted to put that down right away, and I'll move it out of the way when I'm actually doing my planting. And yeah, I think that's everything I want to talk about in today's video. That's just setting up the garden bed. I am going to do another video next month all about all the plants that I've picked, companion plants, crop rotations, all that good stuff. I'm really excited about that one. I know that this was a lot of information. I've been taking in so much, and most of the information dump is in setting up your garden. I will also link all the books that I've read in the description for you to go over. Regenerative agriculture is a movement that's been going on for years now, but it's only slowly, from what I hear, moving into backyard vegetable gardens type scale. So it is a little bit different than the large scale agriculture. Like I said, the books that I read were very helpful if you're also interested. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am obsessed with this stuff, as you can tell, and I'm very excited to share with you how it progresses. And just a reminder, if you are interested in getting new glasses, check out the link for Glasses USA once again in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.